How's it going today, Virginia? This is Adam Roosevelt, the candidate for the House of Delegates. I wanted to take the time today to give everyone an update on what just came in the mail. The Virginia Campaign for Liberty Candidate Survey for 2017 that asked 7 critical questions that would impact your future, and I thought that it would be very important for me to address it here. So let's go ahead and jump right in. The very first question that was asked to me was, will you oppose all tax and fee increases and work to cut taxes, including the Virginia car tax? I take the pledge to make sure that we cut taxes here in Virginia. I take the pledge to make sure that we cut taxes for small businesses, that we focus on cutting that car tax out of the discussion. I believe that we need to make sure we focus on cutting taxes at all costs and ensuring that more money goes back to those families. Moving forward, the second question that was proposed to me was, do you oppose taking federal money to expand Medicaid? So for those of you who do not know what Medicaid is, it is health care for low-income families. I came from a low-income family, so it is my duty to make sure that low-income families are not being attacked in the process. Now, we have to take into account that taking federal money will indeed put Virginia in a position where Virginia will lose its ability to make decisions as a state for Medicaid. We need to make sure that we are not in debt. We are now projected in 2020 to be $900 billion in debt with the expansion of Medicaid. We have got to find other solutions and revenue sources that will help fund alternative projects as we begin to discuss healthcare. So, do you oppose taking federal money to expand Medicaid? Absolutely. Moving on, will you oppose all efforts to apply to the U.S. Congress for an Article 5 convention? I do not oppose all efforts to apply to the U.S. Congress for an Article 5 convention. In fact, I think that it is very critical that if the states come together, and there are enough states representing the number total to get this passed, there needs to be a discussion about amendments to the U.S. Constitution. If and only if those states reach that number for that. That's my position on the Convention of States. So, I will not oppose all efforts to apply for U.S. Congress for an Article 5 convention. Okay. So, when asked, the fourth question, very interesting question, will you oppose any bill that impedes free speech, including any so-called ethics reform bill that would require a citizen organization to divulge its donor or member information? Let's take a moment to think about that. Bills that impede free speech. Absolutely not. I will not support that. I will oppose any bill that impedes free speech. I believe that we as Americans have a duty to our citizens in protecting those unalienable rights are going to be critical, and we cannot allow the government to slowly begin moving forward from taking those rights from American citizens. All right, let's move on to the next question. So, question number 5, will you support legislation that would end policing for profit, including equitable sharing with federal authorities, require charges to be filed before any assets are seized by law enforcement, and ensure that property is returned if charges are dropped or the subject is acquitted? Listen, folks, this is a very interesting topic that law enforcement agencies and prosecutors will actually use different methods to seize actual property from the United States citizens to fund their own agencies and own programs. This is not the way America was built. We need to protect every citizen, especially in Virginia. So yes, I will support legislation that would end policing for profit because it is not right. There are better ways of doing things, and we must protect our citizens. Number 6, do you oppose the use of unmanned law enforcement devices being used to penalize citizens? Many of you have probably received an Easy Pass violation. That's what we're talking about. Those unmanned law enforcement devices, these are the same devices that have been actually used against you to generate revenue sources. they've actually found a way to change the timing between the green, the yellow, and the red in order to impose some informal tax, if you will, to generate these forms of revenue. This is a direct attack on United States citizens, and it's got to stop, and we've got to make sure that we protect our United States citizens, especially here in Virginia. So lastly, will you support a constitutional carry bill that would allow any law-abiding citizen to carry a firearm concealed without a permit? Well, folks, I'm going to be straightforward with you. As an American citizen, you have the right to bear arms. You've had that right. As long as you are not a criminal and you are a law-abiding citizen, that's your right to defend yourself. Be responsible with that firearm, but ensure that you understand that using a firearm is a responsibility. But one thing we don't want to forget, you have the right to protect yourself and your family. You were born with that right. I support that amendment. Thank you. God bless Virginia.